Hello, readers and writers. I am Anthony L. Manna, otherwise known as Professor Grandpa Tonio, the book guy and the writing guy, and I am here today to read a part of Loukas and the Game of Chance. It's my newest book, illustrated with pen and ink illustrations by Donald Babish. This is my second episode. I hope you listened to the first one. Let me take you back into the story. Early the next morning, as soon as Loukas settled into his seawall lookout and began playing a string of simple chords, the snake emerged from its burrow and slithered over to where Loukas sat. It raised itself taller and taller and stood within an arm's length of Loukas' stare. The snake held Loukas steady in its sight. As before, the snake caught hold of Loukas' soothing riffs. It swayed from side to side and pitched forward and backward, weaving its way into the rise and fall of the music's rhythms. As soon as Loukas quickened the tune's tempo and ended with high-pitched trills, the snake lowered itself to the ground and slid off to its den. Once again, Loukas stood amazed at the sight of not one, not two, but 3 gold coins. The snake had left along the path. "Thank you, my friend," Loukas cried out to the snake. "From now on, I will call you Lambros," Loukas said out loud. "The name means radiant, and radiant is the kindness you have brought to me and my family." Loukas dropped the coins into his bag and ran off singing, "Lambros, Lambros, Lambros." He was happy to be bringing home more good news. "Your snake has rescued us from a life of poverty," Loukas' father remarked when his son returned from a meeting with the snake, bearing yet another share of Lambros' generosity. "And we are just as thankful to you, my son, for giving your mysterious friend such great pleasure with your pleasing music," said his mother. Again and again, Loukas returned to the seawall to play his flute to Lambros' delight. Again and again, Lambros rewarded Loukas with not 1, not 2, but 3 gold coins. Some years later, just as spring's first traces were awakening the island's hillsides and meadows with a dazzling palette of orange and lemon blossoms, Lambros spoke to Loukas. Lambros smiled to hear Lambros' gravelly voice. "Not only does this wondrous snake dance," he thought, "it also speaks our language." My friend," the snake said in a voice so strained it seemed each slurred word came from within a deep well. "Someday I will be called from this earthly realm to return to the spirit world and join up with members of my clan who have passed on before me." Loukas struggled to hear Lambros' every word above the harbor's commotion. "You will eat my journey and keep my spirit from ceaseless roaming between this world and the world beyond. If you give me a respectful burial, Lambros said. Nodding in agreement, Loukas clutched his hands against his chest. When you find my body in my hideaway, Lambros continued, his voice weakening, wrap it in a white cloth and put me to rest in a grave that looks out to the sea I love. In friendship, bury me with a sprig of sage to protect me from wicked powers that may threaten my spirit as I make my passage. His voice trembling with sadness at the thought of losing his friend, Loukas stammered through a promise to keep close to his heart Lambros's wish to be helped bringing his spirit home. Your companionship comforts me as much as your music awakens me to great happiness, rasped the snake. His hoarse voice faded to a sluggish tremor as he slipped out of sight. Loukas gazed after Lambros through tearful eyes. Now, over the years, as Lukas's friendship with Lambros blossomed, so too his family's fortune, where once they were poor, even to come by a few cents to buy flour to make bread. With time, they had become one of the richest families on the island. With Lambros's coins filling their strongbox, Lukas's family rejoiced over the changes their new wealth brought into their lives. They built a new cottage with an unrivaled view of the sea. They planted spacious flowers, herb, and vegetable gardens. They brought onto their homestead a small herd of goats. They installed a marble fountain. They hollowed out a track for a pond. They planted chestnut trees as a tribute to Lambros for his goodwill and devotion. In honor of Lambros, Lukas's family came to the aid of the village's poorest folks. Along with his mother and father, Loukas left baskets of food at the doorways of villagers most in need of help. At every season, they brought clothing made by the village seamstress to families troubled by poor health and hard times. Before long, a band of neighbors grew curious about the surprising turn of good fortune Lukas's family had taken, and so quickly at that. When neither Loukas nor his mother or father said a word to anyone about the source of their blessings for fear of losing the snake's trust, their neighbor's curiosity soured into jealousy. "Look how they make a spectacle of themselves," one neighbor confided to folks passing through the village square one afternoon. He gestured toward the lavish cottage the family had built on one of the island's highest bluffs. "Indeed," agreed a milliner, stopping in the square on her way to her shop. "Word is out that they've hired a crew of caretakers to look after their place. And pity us, who must fend for ourselves day after day," she said, a look of disgust pinching her face as she minced out of the square. "Not to mention the gardeners they bring in to care for their cypress and olive trees. Those trees are unequal to any others on the entire island," another villager observed, sulking. As rumors about the family's wealth raged on with each passing year, Loukas never once allowed the villagers' envy to force him to reveal his friendship with Lambros, nor did Loukas ever consider putting an end to cheering the snake on with songs that invited him to dance. Lambros could no longer move as nimbly as he had years before, when first coming to trust the young boy at the seawall. Yet, even as he aged, the snake was drawn out of his den the minute the stirring sounds of Lukas's flute came to him on the drift of a gentle sea breeze. As Loukas came within months of his 18th birthday, his features still held the same wide-eyed curiosity he had carried throughout his youth. Framed by a shock of tangly black hair, his face bore a perpetual tan. His green eyes were darker. These were the eyes that glanced about for fear of missing out on whatever was happening within his line of vision. Loukas was more likely to be found smiling shyly than frowning. While his short, thick-set body stood firmly grounded, he always appeared restless and weightless, as though ready to spring into action the moment the need arose. On the very day Loukas celebrated his 18th birthday, his mother and father announced that Thera, a young and beautiful seamstress, had gladly accepted Lukas's offer to marry him. Thera had a thick thatch of wavy blonde hair and lightly lashed bright blue eyes. "Thera's eyes," Loukas told his friends, "are as blue as the sea." Thera often pulled her hair back from her face. She kept it in place behind her ears with a silver barrette inlaid with amber gemstones. The barrette was a gift from her grandmother. Like her father, Thera was tall and slim. Like her mother, she had a pale complexion and long, thin fingers, ideal for a seamstress's work. From her mother, she had a nose with a straight bridge and narrow nostrils. Islanders were drawn to Thera's shop. They said she always treated her customers with respect, took special care in making and mending their clothes, and was known for putting a fair price on their finished pieces. Thera loved music. Islanders passed by her shop, often stopping to listen to her singing songs that told of love and loss and forgiveness. As it happened, Thera's sister brought to Lukas's family her mother and father's approval of Thera's marriage to Loukas. Her sister announced that the families would soon meet to issue a formal agreement as to the suitability of the couple's union. They would discuss the terms and duration of the courtship. Thera's dowry would be decided. The family the married couple would live with would be debated, and the village priest would be called upon to bless the union. Dare I ask Lambros if someday soon I might invite Thera to the seawall and introduce her to my faithful friend? Loukas gave thought to what he might say the next time he came to the seawall to charm the snake. When Loukas returned to the seawall a few days later, Lambros rose up slowly to meet Loukas' eyes. As though reading Loukas' thoughts, Lambros whispered, "Surely, my man, it would greatly please me to make the acquaintance of the young woman who has chosen you above all others to be her husband." His gritty voice was so quiet, Loukas struggled to catch hold of each word. "And when she accompanies you to this place, ask each of your parents to join the two of you," wheezed Lambros. Some days passed before Loukas could lead Thera and their parents to the seawall, where they waited at Loukas' watch for the snake to appear. Once they settled in, Loukas played the seafaring ballad that over time had become one of Lambros' favorite songs. But this time, something was different. I'll be back soon and read more of Loukas and the Game of Chance by Anthony L. Manna, otherwise known as Professor Grandpa Tonio, the book guy and the writing guy. This book is illustrated with pen and ink by Donald Babish. Goodbye for now. Talk again soon. Read again soon.